going to start our chapter 7, titled Monitoring and Controlling the Project. This is for course Project Management CPE520. So, by referring to the book of Project Management in Practice by Mantel, Meredith, Schaeffer and Sutton, this chapter is located at chapter 8, which is Monitoring and Controlling the Project. Okay, in this chapter, we will look into the outline of this chapter, yeah? So in this chapter addresses issues related to monitoring and controlling the project. Monitoring refers to collecting, recording, and reporting information about the project, while controlling uses that this information that will bring to actual performance into agreement with the plan. This chapter begins with an overview of the plan, monitor, control cycle. Emphasis is given to the importance of designing the planning, monitoring, controlling process. Next, the issue of data collection and reporting is discussed, including the topics of data collection and types of data, data analysis, types of reports and meetings. Following this, the earned value approach is presented. As the chapter notes, earned value represents a way to capture both in-process performance and cost on a certain date as measured against budget or schedule. Finally, chapter concludes with a discussion of project control, the design of the control system, and scope creep. So, definition of monitoring is the collection, recording, and reporting of project information that is of importance to the project manager and other relevant stake. And the function of control is to monitor data and information monitored data and information to bring actual performance into agreement with the plan. Clearly, the need to exert proper control mandates the need to monitor the proper activities and elements of the project. Frequently, the difference between monitoring and control is blurred, and their interaction often makes us think we are working on a single task, but they are quite different. Although the data gathered from monitoring often serve many objectives, such as auditing, keeping management informed, learning from mistakes, these are all secondary compared to the purpose of control. Okay. Why monitor? This is to ensure that all interested parties have available information when needed, the information required to exercise control over the project through the use of tools such as the project portfolio process. Okay, so the key issue in designing the effective monitoring and control system is to create an information system which will give project manager and other the information they need to make informed, timely decision, so that this will keep the scope of the project as close as possible to the plan. So this is an example of the portfolio, okay, created based on the monitored data gathered. Next, we'll look into the plan, monitor, control cycles. Okay, managing a project involves continually planning. So we will look into what to do. Next, we check on the progress. After that, compare progress to plan. After that, taking corrective action to bring progress into agreement with the plan if it's not, and then replanning if it's needed. Okay, when if it is not agreeing with the scope or time or cost. So, the plan, monitor, control cycle is done around these three things, major things in project management. First is time, second is cost, third is scope. Okay, these are the fundamentals element that is looked into whenever we do a project management. Okay, so why these three fundamental is important? So these three is important for us to stay on schedule, to have our budget not exceeded, and to run our project timely mannered. Okay. So the plan, monitor, control cycle. The plan, monitor, control cycle constitutes a closed loop process that continues until the project is completed, as shown in figure 7.1 above. Okay, this figure is referred to our project management book. These figures illustrate the information and authority flows for such a cycle in an engineering project. Note that the information flows up the organization and the authority flows down. Okay. So next we'll look into another plan, monitor, control cycle. The case is when particular complex, challenging or uncertain projects are initiated, the planning, monitoring, controlling effort is minimized. Okay, so we have to do a proper planning in order to minimize the monitoring and controlling process. Why? Why we need this plan, monitor, control cycle? Because so that the real work can be done. What does it mean? We focus on doing something or anything rather than spending the time on planning, monitoring and controlling, especially if the stakes are high and the project is a difficult one. So what type of project manager they need? They will need a mature project manager, particularly one who realizes the importance of creating an effective planning, monitoring, controlling process. So what result do we expect from this process of plan, monitor, control cycles? Only this type of cycle will ensure that the project and its output are in full compliance with the law, as well as with the expectations of both senior management and client. So that's the importance of plan, monitor, control cycle. Okay, we stressed on the word cycle. Okay, so example of the plan, monitor, control cycle, which is inadequate planning process. If we do it with an adequate planning process, the situation is that a retailer won a bid to supply a regional office of a national firm with a computer, terminals, and software. The problem is insufficient planning occur. Result would be installation was completed far beyond the due date with very inadequate performance. Long-term effect, the project failure disqualified the retailer from bidding on the additional 20 installations planned by the national firm. So this is the current situation or example of inadequate planning process for the plan, monitor, control cycle. So we'll see how plan play an important role in this cycle. Yeah. So idea about project monitoring and controlling. Designing the monitoring system. So why do we monitor? Okay, we need to ask first, why do we monitor? What do we monitor? When do we monitor? And how do we monitor? And where do we monitor? So these are the questions that need to be asked. 4 whys and 1 husband. Why, what, when, where, and how. Okay. So one classroom activity, okay, I would need you to give me an example about each of the questions, and this could be sent to me after on our class, during our class on Thursday. Idea about project monitoring and control. So why do we monitor? Simply because we know that things don't always go according to plan. So we need to detect and react appropriately to deviations and changes of plans. Okay, so for the exercise above, before this, I need you to give me answer that is not in my slide. Okay, so what do we monitor? Normally, we monitor the human resources, okay, machines, material, money, space, time, task, and quality of technical performance, but not limited to this. Okay. When do we monitor? Sometimes people monitor at the end of the project, which is quite dangerous. We monitor it continuously or regularly or logically while there is still time to react, or as soon as possible at task completion, or at pre-planned decision points, which is milestones, at every milestones. Where do we monitor? At the head office, at the site office, on the spot, depends on the situation at what the whats are. Okay, what are we monitoring? So it depends on what we are monitoring. Okay, how do we monitor? Okay, this link to planning and control. So we monitor through meetings with client, which with the party involved in the project, such as contractor, supplier. Okay, for schedules, we update PERT charts, we update Gantt charts. We use earned value analysis to monitor. We calculate critical ratios. We monitor it through milestones or reports that's been submitted. We monitor it through tests and inspections. We deliver through the delivery or staggered delivery. Okay, through project management information system. Okay, so these are the method that we can monitor our project. Okay, so this is another blended learning discussion. Okay, again, this is only due on Thursday. All right, now we look into designing the monitoring system. Okay. The key to setting up a monitoring system is to identify the special characteristics of scope, cost, and time that need to be controlled in order to achieve the project goals as stated in the project plan. In order to manage for overall project success, control must be exercised at the detailed work level for each aspect of the project performance, or there is no guarantee that the desired changes will result, that we will gain the desired changes. Okay. The project plan identifies what is being done when the planned level of resource usage for each task and subtask in the project. So real-time data must be identified to measure achievement against the plan. Mechanism to gather and store such data must be designed. In addition to collection system, for hard data, the monitoring system should include telephone logs, changing tracking control systems, documentation processes for both formal, which is meeting, for example, it is meeting, and the informal communications, and others such as software data collection system. Okay. So it is essential to spend time upfront designing the planning, monitoring, controlling process, especially for more challenging projects. The project plan is the primary document to guide the design of monitoring system in terms of the detailed tasks and resources that need to be controlled in order for the project to achieve its time, cost, and output goals. So some common errors in setting up monitoring systems are monitoring easy measures instead of relevant measures, monitoring activity in place of results, monitoring inputs as surrogates, which is substitute for outputs, monitoring measures that don't change from one period to the next. Okay, these are some of the common errors. Okay, data collecting and reporting. This is the activity of data collecting and reporting. We decide which type of data that we want to control, decide the parameters that involve, and then we decide the method to collect this data, how the efficient method can be employed to collect the data. Okay, what are the efficient methods? And then we need to look into how to turn the data into useful information for controlling purposes. Okay, so these are some of the examples that we need to place into our planning strategy for data collecting and reporting. Should we design and use special form? Should data be collected just before or after an important milestone? Should time and cost data always be collected at the same time? Okay, so this, and we also need to think of the way to present this information in terms of reporting. So the most important thing is these three elements. Okay, parameters that need to be monitored. Okay, methods to collect the parameters of data, and then how we're going to turn it into a useful information. Data collecting have 5 formats. Okay, one is frequency counts. Okay, this involves a simple tally of the occurrence of an event. Okay, for example, days without an accident. Okay, so we have our bar chart here to represent the frequency. How many days with accident and how many days without accident. So these complaints will be logged into report. Second one is the raw numbers. So actual amounts are used, usually in comparison to some expected or planned amount. Okay, such as dollars spent, hours required, and pounds consumed. So we can see here, okay, we can see here it is represented by the pie chart. Okay, so the important thing is when collecting raw amount are the basis, time period, and collection process will always has to be the same. Okay, some controlling parameters. Okay, so the third one is subjective numeric ratings. We give ratings to our parameters. Okay, for example, here we have a rating for hospital ratings maybe. Okay, for the pain in a patient, 0 for no pain, and 10 for the worst possible unbearable excruciating pain. Okay, so we give this type of chart to the patient to rank their pain. So we use ranking system. Okay. The fourth one is indicators and surrogates. Okay, when it is especially difficult to find a direct measures of a variable, difficult to find the parameters. Okay, difficult to find what parameters to monitor. Indicators or surrogates are the one that normally used. Okay, it is important that the indicator and surrogate, because it is directly related to the variable as possible. For example, body temperature as an indicator of infection. Okay, for example, if there is an infection, there'll be a spike in body temperature. So we'll use that indicators to determine that there is some infection happen in the body in the patient. Okay. Normally, it requires years of experience for the project manager or the team to use these surrogates or indicators types of data collecting. Okay. The fifth one is verbal characterization. Other variables that are difficult to measure, such as team spirit or client-supplier cooperation, may take the form of verbal characterization. These forms of data are acceptable and useful as long as the terminology is limited and is uniformly understood by all parties. Okay. Verbal characterization is the given or recording information given by certain people. So, next we have our plan and data collecting process done. Now, how do we do the data analysis? So, data analysis is analyzing the data needed before reporting for control purposes. So, this may take the form of simple aggregation of the data, such as averaging the values, or something as complex as fitting statistical distribution function to the data to ascertain relationship, effects, and trends. Okay, to see the relationship between one parameter to another parameter. Some of the quality management techniques for the preparation and analysis of data are useful. We might look into some of the techniques. Okay, example is a common graph used in quality management, shows the range of sample values taken on a periodic basis, such as daily. If the samples range, the largest minus the smallest value appears to be increasing over time, this may indicate that a machine is wearing out or needs maintenance. So we look into some of the example of data analysis. Figures 7.2 and 7.3 illustrate curve fitting. Okay. So this chart has to be updated on regular basis, and some curves are fitting based on the statistical method. So this fitting of data is to help the project manager estimate the cost and time required to achieve the performance goals for the project. Figure 7.4 shows the trend in ratio of actual material cost to planned cost. So the project manager can step in should the values indicate a likely problem. Okay. So it's good to have the actual cost reduces as the time increases. So if the actual cost is increases, the project manager can clearly see that on the data and they can take a proper action to overcome the problem. So we'll look into some of the data analysis issue. It should be noted that data analysis is sometimes used for the assignment of blame. Okay, the project manager will not find this helpful in order to manage the project. The goal is to achieve the project objectives through correcting deviations from plan, not to find scapegoats or assign guilt. Okay, so these are some of the issue of data analysis. People using it as a weapon to blame others. Okay, the project manager needs all team members performing at the top of their capabilities. So frequent blame placing strongly encourage team members to avoid taking the risk necessary or to demotivate them from doing the work, or for them to be not to actively involved in the project goal of from mentioning problem when discovered. So project managers should really be sensitive whenever he do the data analysis, he has to properly set his mind that this is for controlling the project, not to put blame on others. So these are some of the classroom activity. Okay, again, it is only submitted 3 days after the class. Okay, next we look into reporting. Okay, reporting is collecting data, analyze data, and report data. So we are on the red part of the circle. After we collect the data, we analyze the data. Next, we need to report the data. So, purpose of reporting is to reflect current reality such as PERT or CPM, alert the team members or help in maintain team morale. Not everyone needs to receive the same information, but same project or production issue. Okay, so for example, information that needed by the client is cost and value and schedule. The information that need to be that need to be given to the project team members are task or subtask level on a frequent, perhaps daily basis. And the report that need to be given to the functional management is technical accomplishments. Okay, so it's like a customized report for every subsection. Avoiding periodic reports. This is very good because more appropriate to let schedules, milestones, scope, changes, problems and the project team's general needs. Okay, ignorance tendency by the recipient. Okay, so periodic report is good. Okay, sometimes, but sometimes it is not good also. So senior manager look for it for these periodic reports. They will examine the status and compare the performance. Okay. So what project manager do? Make sure that relevant information for relevant people. For example, product quality report for storekeepers. Yes or no? Overhead cost for project chemist. Attendance report for production planning. Okay, you give an answer for this. Yes or no? Okay. Types of reports. Okay, we have a routine report. Okay, exception report, special analysis report. Okay, so what are routine report? Okay, this routine report is received by operation team, related functional manager or anyone who might be affected or interested. Okay? So what is routine report? It is a structured and detailed report. Normally, usually not summarized and lists all available information, very detailed information when retrieving routine information from database. It uses the somewhat print all function without allowing user to select what is to be printed. Okay? Can be either on daily, monthly or yearly basis. Okay? Exception report is received by operation team, related functional manager and anyone who might be affected or interested. So this exception report primarily intended for special decisions or unexpected situation, and ad hoc report, in which affected team members and outside managers need to be made aware of any changes, and the changes itself needs to be documented. Okay, we look into special analysis report. So special analysis report, this report is to be received by top management, other project managers, functional manager or anyone who might be affected or interested. These reports are prepared to disseminate the results of a special study in a project concerning a particular opportunity or problem for the project. Okay. So I want you to do this tutorial. Okay. This tutorial will only be discussed if needed. Okay, you can send to me during the online distance learning. So benefits of reports for the purpose of control: it will give us mutual understanding, and it will maintain communication, it will maintain the visibility and help to communicate the needs, minimizing confusion during changes, and will status reports help to keep the project team motivated. Okay, so we'll skip this classroom activity. Problems and project manager role. Does the report is an asset? It is not by chance that the PMI has labeled these collections of project reports, plans, charter, change orders, project history and other such documents as organizational asset. Okay. Special problem often encountered in designing project monitoring and reporting system. The relationship between the project's information system and the overall organization information system. Okay. Cost and other measures in ways that differ from the organization definition of such measures as documented in the overall information system. Should be aware, however, of another danger. Module of the parent organization information system may not fit the needs of project monitoring and reporting. Okay, so sometimes the parent organization monitoring and information monitoring and controlling system cannot be fit into our project. Okay. Use the regular information system as the definition prototype for project monitoring and reporting, making adjustment and addition as necessary for the special circumstances and measures needed for the project at hand. Okay. For the project manager, for example, an accounting module to track costs for an assembly line will not be adequate for tracking project costs. So, these are some of the reporting methods. Use the software packages which offer extensive and varied reporting mechanism, or use Gantt charts to show the current status of the project, or use some reports to show the availability of various resources or the demands for work from individuals or group. So a different reporting methods. Okay. So the advantages are software package allow the project manager to distribute information anywhere that has electronic communication capability. Allows easy customization of the reports limited only by the project manager's imagination. So it can done so many things with the software packages. A PM can highlight tasks that are running. Okay, so these are the advantages of software packages. Okay, thank you. I'll see you in another video, which is meetings.